Today was bad. Light work, people. Light work. Seems we're soft all over the pitch. Good evening, people. Good evening. Welcome. You're most welcome to the Redfellas podcast YouTube show for the post-match for the FA Cup. Is my internet gone again? Am I still here, guys?
You're still here. Still here for now.
Okay, that's good. I froze for a second on my own screen, so I thought it was gone again. But most welcome, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. A smooth passage into the semi-finals of the FA Cup, and everyone's looking at me like I see a few raised eyebrows through the chat, even though I can't see the eyebrows, but you know what I mean. Smooth passage, Grizz says. Well, we get into all that. Was it smooth? Was it rough? Or was it run-of-the-mill? Whatever it was, we're into the semi-finals of the FA Cup. So that's the way I look at it. And that's the end result, and that's what counts, right, people? And to talk to me about that smooth passage, I've got the smoothest fellas on a Sunday night, the Redfellas. Lads, Conroy, start off with you. You all right, mate?
Yeah, good. I'm actually glad that one didn't go extra time, Grizz, because I remember we had the show at 9, and I think it was already a bit raw, the emotions now, but I think if it went on a bit with that, I think it would have been a bit too emotional for this show. But yeah, obviously, through to the final, which is the semi-final, which is the main thing. We're going to get into who it's against and obviously the quality of opposition. But getting there, it doesn't matter how you do it as long as you get there. And I'm very, very happy about that.
Yeah, I'm happy as well. But we're going to find out if the man who loves the domestic cup competitions, and now we're into the semi-final, we'll see if he loves it too. Mr. Sacregard, it's been a while since you've been on the Redfellas. How you doing?
Yeah, I feel good. It feels good to be back amongst the Redfellas on a Sunday. Yeah, I'm known for my undying, completely burning love for the domestic cups, and but I'm afraid this today bordered on a waste of time. But I'm sure we'll get into that. It wasn't pretty. Yeah,
it wasn't pretty. But Dan, these when you get to these stages, it's not about pretty. It's not about looking good. It's not about who dominates the game. It's not about ball. It's not about anything else. It's all about getting through to the next round, wherever that may be. And it just so happens to be, we have another trip to Wembley. Me and you have another trip to Wembley. Hopefully, we were only there a couple of weeks ago. This is becoming a regular occurrence, right?
Yes, we may as well buy a little flat down there, mightn't we now? Yeah, it's one of them, yeah. Not vintage, not pretty, not what we expect from this Liverpool side, but as they say, we made it through. We lived to fight another day. And yeah, fair dues to Nottingham Forest. They gave us a tough ride.
Absolutely did. And as none of your business says, evening gents, that was their cup final. They gave us a better game than most this season. There's no doubt they did. There's absolutely no doubt they did. But we're going to get into the game. First and foremost, I've got to give a shout out to my sponsors, of course. Redfellas on a Sunday night is sponsored by your go-to company for anything CBD, and that is EliteMe.com. Please go and check out their website, www.eliteme.com, for all your CBD needs, vapes, bath creams, CBD oil, everything that you may need in terms of CBD. Go check them out. Go to the checkout. Type in LFC15 and you get a 15% discount. Courtesy of Grizz Khan TV. You can't go wrong. Go check them out. Brilliant bunch of people and some amazing products they do as well. Conroy, where to start? I tweeted smooth passage and so many people jumped on my head and I don't know. Twitter does need a sarcasm font or a sarcasm emoji or something to sort of differentiate the Looney Tunes that take everything so seriously on Twitter from the people that understand sarcasm. But yeah, that was anything but smooth, right?
Oh, absolutely. I know we're going to do it bit by bit. I've got to be honest, though, I actually do feel like I'm annoyed at the team slightly. I feel like they could have made that much more simpler if their final third passing in the first half was of a decent level. There was too many times where we caught in Forest in transition with space, and it was the wrong decision. Now, you might look at that as individuals on the park, I get that, but I thought decision-making in the final third, and then obviously we're going to get into it, Bobby's chance. If that goes in, I think we control the game much better. I know it's all ifs and buts, but for me, that's what the way it went is it allowed for us to. We made it a proper cup tie, if you ask me. I don't think these games are always like that. They're not always a battle. I think you can control it, and I just think we didn't really use that the space well enough in the first half, because there definitely was space there, especially down Gomez's side. There was lots of it, and it was just the final pass that annoyed me in the first half.
Jamie, who was the standout caller from the other day, absolutely shout.
Was that the one about the like in relation to the kind of psychology? And he listed
Absolutely
the
was.
he was
Absolutely
brilliant,
was.
brilliant, yeah,
Yeah,
brilliant.
absolutely. Shout out to Jamie, who also sent in a super chat. Says homework done. Last win at Notts Forest, 38 years. Failed to win in last 12. Other stat: 5 goals conceded in last 17 games. Wow, I didn't even know that. You learn something new every day. I don't think, Dan, even you knew that, right?
No, I wouldn't have known that, if I'm being honest. No. So very impressive work there. And it's one of them, it doesn't feel like that, because it feels like some performances, particularly of late, we could have conceded more. And I think tonight was probably one of them. But yeah, obviously in terms of numbers and stats, it's all plain to see, and we're getting it done.
We are indeed. Asim, who was at the game today, shout out to Asim, says, great show, guys. Wembley, here we come. Wembley, here we come indeed, Evan. Wembley, here we come indeed. First and foremost, what's your opinions on semi-finals being at Wembley? How you feel about that?
Relatively new thing, isn't it? Yeah, as someone who won't be attending and probably won't ever attend a domestic cup semi-final, I'll defer to you guys, but personally, it was confusing for me, because to be honest, I thought today was the semi-final, because they said the next game is going to be at Wembley. I
understand that, mate. That actually is logical. That's logical thinking.
If anyone wants to gauge my excitement level for the domestic cups, that's basically it in a nutshell. But yeah, semi-finals at Wembley. I mean, probably unnecessary. Is it a ploy to sort of help the domestic cups stay alive in a sense? Probably, yeah.
Probably. Just paying for Wembley. That's all they're doing. They're just paying for Wembley. They've been doing it for years. Ever since Wembley got built, they've had semi-finals there, and it's simply to pay off what it costs to build it. Has been probably paid it now, but not going to change it because they make too much money out of it. They're not daft.
Because see, if you wanted to have like a kind of for the experience, neutral. So if someone gets to a semi-final, I still think there's a bit like merit in that, like, so say like a Crystal Palace. But then what they used to do is they used to have other grounds that were kind of halfway. So say like a Villa Park, or like I know you've used Anfield, like they could use grounds, or Old Trafford. They could use a ground that's a neutral venue and still make it a big occasion, but make it kind of fair as well. But as you said, Dan, that's the reason they're using Wembley. So it's not because it's to make it better for if teams get to the semis, because they could use other grounds for that to make it more an occasion as well.
Yeah, look, one of the things that I miss about sort of the old grounds, sort of the neutral grounds down in semi-finals, like sort of give the Villa Parks and your other neutral grounds. I think, has Anfield ever used? Has Anfield ever been used in the semi? Hasn't it?
A couple of times. Yeah, St James's Park's another one, and Ellen Road was always another one.
Ellen Road was always a popular one, and one of the things that what always stood out for me growing up watching these semi-finals at neutral grounds was the atmosphere. The atmosphere used to be always proper cup atmosphere. The crowd 50-50. You know what it was? No sort of corporate. It's all about the fans. I think today we got that though at Forest. Obviously we were away. Obviously it was majority of Notts Forest, but I sensed, because I was speaking to you off air and I was being honest, and I was saying, look. And I think we will agree that it was the least of our priorities going into this game. So I wanted to really sort of just kind of chill, the most chilled game amongst so many cup finals, if you know what I mean. The Champions League, the league games are going to be so intense and absolutely 100% focused and in on it. And this one was, I thought we're going to make 4 or 5 changes. We end up making 7 changes. And so when you make 7 changes, you don't expect fluidity, rhythm and everything and all that. So I thought it was going to be one of those games where it would be interesting to see certain players' performances. But once we saw the atmosphere at the ground and the kind of songs that they were singing and all of that, I ended up really getting emotionally involved. Was you the same?
Yeah, massively so. I agree with you in terms of this is probably the most. It's the last on the priority list, isn't it? Let's put it that way. But at the same time, when you are faced with a quarter final of any competition, you should want to get the job done. And then obviously you factor in the fact it's Nottingham Forest, and you think we should get the job done because obviously a league above them and a couple of class levels above them as well. And then you throw into the mix the historic rivalry, and then you put in what they were singing, which I am honestly so disappointed about. I was so impressed with Nottingham Forest as a football club in the build-up to this game. So impressed. And then for their fans to act the way they did today during that match, they should be ashamed. And the club themselves, I'm sure, would be a little bit gutted by that because it was just unnecessary and really poor form from them. So, yeah, you're right. When you then beat them and in the middle of the game, it makes you want to beat them that little bit more. So I'm really pleased we did. But at the same time, it has left a little bit of a sour taste.
It has, Conroy. The gesture of leaving 97 seats empty for us was obviously from the club. But sometimes you get not sometimes, in every club, in every fan base, there's a small minority that tend to sort of outdo the good work that the club tries to do and does. And that was the case. Some stupid songs, we're not going to go into it too much, but it kind of just shows you that, clubs can do so much. Yeah, it takes only a few handful of stupid idiots at the match to ruin all that work, right?
Yeah, but I don't like the phrase when people say it's only a minority. It really does my head in. Because in general, I think if you're a human being and you don't have empathy, then to me, you deserve what you get. And I'll be honest, it's probably ruined all the good work the club's done. I say this all the time. Everyone's got principles until it comes to their club. And I'm not saying all of North Forest fans, like obviously a lot of them done it, but don't use the phrase it's only a minority because those people started to sing about something like that and use that to try and have an impact on the game. I think it's just disgusting, and it really is. It should be like I don't want to ruin tonight about that, and what we're making is more a bigger deal of it. But I just think it's. I don't know. You're constantly baffled by human beings doing stuff like this, and it just that's why I get annoyed about it. I always say that I think people have got principles until it involves them, and then that goes out the window. And the first time I heard it, I was wondering if I was maybe mishearing it because surely it's not the club who've done this the week before. Yeah. Everyone's saying what a classy move, levels. And so I did give them the benefit of the doubt. Or maybe I've just misheard that. Maybe it's a tune. It sounds similar. But then I've obviously heard it a few times. I don't really know a word to capture it. I just, always just
disappointing
by human beings again.
Yeah, disappointing in sections of the human race, I guess. But we move on. Sorry, Evan, was you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think there just needs to be a bit of a wider crackdown on things like that.
Yes.
Let me just tell you, from personal experience, obviously as an American, I'm a fan of a few American sports as well and follow a few of the American leagues. The passion of the Premier League is completely unmatched to anything in the world, and that's why I love it so much. But should anything like that, what happened today with the chance, if that ever happened at an NBA game or an NFL game, there would be hell and fury raised. And let me tell you, it just would never happen again because it's being allowed to happen at the end of the day.
Yes.
We've literally brought in VAR. We've done drastic sweeping changes to the game when we felt we needed to. I mean FIFA and PGMOL. But the FA, for whatever reason, feel that there is no way to control this. I completely disagree. You can change things if you want to change things, but for whatever reason, there's no incentive for them to do so. But I didn't see anything about it on Twitter. I didn't obviously hear it through the TV, but I figured it was happening because I noticed in the second half, ESPN, who carry the cups here in the States, I noticed they turned down the crowd noise significantly and turned the commentators up at some point in the second half. And from past experience, I know that when the American broadcasts do that, it means there's something being sung in the stadium that's a bit unsavory. So,
Dan, we all to a man agree that there should be something done to it, and I hate the excuse. Oh, it's part and parcel of society, and you know, it's very difficult to root out things like racism, homophobic shouts, or anything of the sort, any hateful kind of songs or whatever. Surely there is, like Evan and Conroy says, there can be things done. Do you see things being done by the people that govern the game in any way, shape, or form? I mean, if we're going to be progressive as the number one sport in the world, the most watched sport in the world, in terms of everything else, we got it spot on. Technology's coming in, VAR, everything, the commercial side of things, so influential in terms of politics and so on, everything. Surely these kind of things can be controlled or something done about them, right?
Yeah, they certainly should be. I think it all boils down to education, doesn't it, personally? I think it's really difficult to sort of, like Conroy says, you can't single out the people because, unfortunately, it never really is a minority. It's usually quite a lot in numbers, and I don't think you can just cast sweeping bans across hundreds and thousands of football supporters. That's just not practical. Earlier this season, Liverpool were lamented for a certain Chelsea song, and I believe we were warned in the aftermath of our conduct when singing that song. And I personally haven't heard it since. So it'd be good and it'd be interesting to see something similar come about of this sort of incident, and perhaps moving forwards, a sort of wider education about what the things they're singing about. I mean, it's likely never going to happen. But if the FA or whoever, or the Premier League who's in control of that would say, listen, what you're singing about here has these connotations and let's try and avoid it. And tell each football club that if you hear these sort of references, it needs to be dealt with at the time. But realistically, unfortunately, I don't think we're talking about a feasible situation because it's never been done before and it's been going on for years.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. It's not nice. But let's go on to things that are much more pleasant and much more nice. And Conroy, Sulav, where is it gone? Am I back?
You're there, guys. You're there, mate.
Okay, just checking. Sulav says, Conroy, he says, quadruples on, currently win over performance. And as I said, that's absolutely the case right now. Yeah, we just got to keep. It's the old cliche, it's the boring cliche, it's everything that we hear coaches and players say in interviews. But it's so poignant, it's so true, it's right now that we've got to literally focus on the next game every time we're playing, get on that pitch. And so look, coming to the selection today, did you think that the focus was enough in that team? Did you think Jurgen Klopp's made changes and obviously some enforced and some obviously by choice? Did you think it was the right team selection?
Yeah, I was okay with it, Grizz, to be honest. I feel like this is probably the last game, touchwood, we got through, which we did, but before the game, where Klopp thinks he can maybe not the word reduce slightly, but he can maybe afford to try at Ox and Keita, Fabinho midfield, and then I wouldn't be surprised if Minamino started as well in that front three. It was actually, I think Mick, shout out to Mick, he was on Twitter, he said he was stronger than expected, so slightly stronger than expected with Firmino, Jota, and Elliott coming in. So you know what, I was quite happy with that. It was more than enough to get past Forest. However, I know we're going to talk about the first half, and I feel like if that team had been switched on today for certain instances, we could have made it a lot more comfortable, but we weren't. But overall, going into the game, I was happy with that. I feel like from now on, that's it. So every game now is going to be the fullest strength team you can play. And that's it. You maybe thought today was that as well, but it is 100% now. You got to sit in the semi-final. So every game now is just, it already was, but if you had any kind of, you could get away with it, it was today. From now on, it's going to be as full strength as we can get. And by the way, I don't mean necessarily the same front three, but it's always going to be 3 of the 5 that we know.
Yeah.
And then majority, maybe between 4 and 5, maybe 4 midfielders, maybe 5 as well. But if we get the option, it's going to be full strength from now to the end of the season.
I think you're spot on. Just a quick super chat before we move on. Jamie has a suggestion. He says, could be an X factor like Paddy Pimlet bringing attention to
Yes,
anti-Scousers was just disaster rhetoric last night in the UFC. He's absolutely, because that ties in what Dan was saying. It's all about educating. I'm pretty certain that a lot of the sections of the younger generation don't really know what they're singing about and the connotations behind it. I genuinely believe that, and so it is about education. I think Conroy is spot on, Evan. I think tonight was the last. How do you want to put it? Last chance saloon for the squad members, the younger players in Elliott, maybe. So I'm going to give my opinion and then let me hear yours. I was surprised Jones doesn't get a kick, and I'm surprised Taki doesn't get a start, I should say. They're the two surprises for me. I think the rest was pretty obvious, near enough. Was you surprised or disappointed or okay?
I was okay with it. I didn't expect to see Diogo Jota. I did definitely expect it to come in Minamino. I also expected to see Queven Kelleher. I wasn't expecting Allison to be playing. I think Kelleher has definitely earned his right to play and see out the rest of the domestic cup season that we have left. So yeah, that was surprising to me. And you are correct in saying it's a bit of a last chance saloon for any wider squad player to assert that they have a place in the run-in. You know what I mean? Like at this point, it would be hard to see where Minamino or Oxlade-Chamberlain or even Curtis Jones gets a start for the rest of the season, because it's crunch time. It's the meat of the season. We're going to find out quite a bit about what our title, European and domestic credentials look like come the end of April. So a lot is going to be decided. You know, Klopp, he prefers a small team. He doesn't like to rotate unless he has to. So, and unfortunately, I didn't see much from that starting lineup to suggest that anybody's going to be knocking on the door demanding a place. The players on the outer fringes of the squad, that is.
Yeah, I think Dan, the key one was Gomez coming in at right back. We obviously knew that Trent's out for a couple of weeks, and then that selection kind of picked itself. Well, I guess Connor Bradley was the other option. Once Milner was ill, It was either Connor Bradley and Joe Gomez. I was okay with Joe Gomez's performance. I thought his pace bailed him out, us and a couple of times himself. And I think it was one of those cases where we just look at, we compare him to Trent when it comes to the attacking third, and we really shouldn't do that, should we?
No, of course we shouldn't, because nobody in world football compares to Trent, let alone in this Liverpool squad. I was actually really pleasantly surprised with Joe Gomez's performance. I thought it was one of the, that alongside winning was one of the few positives come out of that performance tonight. Because like you say, we are going to perhaps turn to Joe Gomez for a couple of weeks after the international break. Probably for the Watford game. Yeah, he did. He got across a couple of times really nicely. It's almost like Trent does it, and Trent does it really well when he plays. But it's almost like Joe Gomez's defensive instincts kicked in slightly ahead of Trent's, because he is a centre-back and he can probably see that danger slightly earlier. And he got across really well a couple of times. I was really happy. In terms of his quality going forwards, it was obviously a couple of levels below Trent. That's an absolute given. But having said that, it was still better than what I've seen before from Gomez at right back.
Yeah, he got in the positions, Danny. He definitely got up there. I'll give him that.
Yeah, his pace and his offering in that situation was really constant. Like I say, his quality in terms of delivery wasn't quite there, but I actually think there's something to work with there. Prior to this, I'd have probably said Milner for Watford, but having watched that, I'm probably switched.
Yeah, I'm 50-50. No, I'm not 50-50. I'm 60-40 Joe. I'm definitely 60-40 Joe Gomez, but I don't know. Going forward, Conroy, how do you see this like playing on Joe Gomez's mind? Like, how do you see it affecting his future, his sort of mindset that, okay, when I do get a chance, it's at right back? Or was this just unfortunate timing with the Milner injury and the Trent injury? And then what I'm saying is if either of them were fit, would you think that he would have started ahead of Virgil or Konate? Maybe it's difficult, isn't it? Still.
I think, in fairness to Joe Gomez, I think, and shout out, I think Sam Matterface mentioned this in the commentary. He said that
what a
Klopp's,
prick, by the way. What a prick. But we'll get onto that later. What a prick.
No, I was just saying it brought up. Said Klopp's mentioned this point a few times about Gomez, and I do think it shows you the way he thinks about him. He says, in fairness, when I look at the four centre backs, three centre backs. Let's take Virgil out of that. And Matip's always in a great season. But if you look at Matip, Konate, and Gomez, it's like he doesn't think ability-wise they're too far off each other in general, overall. But the rhythm and where they are, so obviously Matip's right ahead, his form's outstanding. I'm talking about, you strip it back, you look, obviously he's a Premier League winning centre-back, Joe Gomez has done a lot of good stuff. But I think it's just because of the rhythm of Konate and Matip. He said that's how it's unfortunate for Gomez. So for me, I've got to be honest, I was actually reasonably quite happy with his attacking play today. I thought it was better than I'd seen him before. And in all seriousness, we'd spoke about getting a right back in. And I know it's probably an issue we'll address later. However, I still think if you're getting a right back, you're not getting a replacement for Trent, because we need a Nat Klein. That's the person who comes on. Someone who, like, it's more, you've got an option if you want to be more defensive for certain ties. And I think Gomez falls under that category. And to be honest, I think, who was the game we played against recently in the league? Or at Anfield, I've completely forgot. But I think that one got him into the game again, get into the pace of the game at right back again. And then
was it at Norwich?
Norwich, I was going to say it was Norwich, yeah.
And I feel like, in general, I'm kind of coming more to that idea, like Dan. I feel like he maybe sees this as an opportunity to be that deputy right back, to force that hand, and then obviously be a deputy centre back as well. So I'm not being funny, but would you rather, it might change in summer, would you rather go to like at Aston Villa and play all the time? I get it. Or would you stay at Liverpool, do that for a couple seasons, and then you will get your spot again? Because look at the age of Matip, and you can have a contest with Konate, and Joe Gomez will back himself if he can get to the form he was. So yeah, I think it's more clear the path for Gomez than other people are maybe making it, but people might disagree with that.
Red Steve tells us that we've only got 64 likes when there's over 200 of you in the chat. That's pretty embarrassing. He asks you, you're better than that, the chat, and I don't know, there's only one way to prove if you're better than that, otherwise you're a bunch of tossers, all of you. If we've only got 60 likes and there's over 200, it's embarrassing, isn't it, Evan? But on the other side, Tsimikas comes in. Tsimikas, we're so happy, we're so glad that we've got an able deputy to Robertson. I think actually today's back four probably was the quickest back four we've got, and I think it was needed, because up against Tsimikas was a couple of speed merchants, especially the fullback that everyone spoke about.
Impressive.
How do you say his first name?
Jed. Yeah.
Apparently, I've been. I don't
DJ Spence.
Yeah.
DJ
Okay.
Spence.
Okay, Conway. Okay, Conway. Take the piss.
Bring it up.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've done it as well, mate. I said it as well.
A couple of previews. Apparently, I've been calling him DJ Spence, and the Nottingham Forest podcast I was on was like, "Chris, you haven't done your homework, have you?" And I said, "Nope, I've never done my homework since 12." That was one of the biggest,
As I said it about 6 times on this show, mate. I've said it about DJ Spence.
DJ Spence, but Jed Spence, all right. We've been corrected. But I thought Tsimikas, from a defensive point of view, was good. I thought going forward, he was as good as Joe Gomez, but Joe Gomez is not known for his attacking, whereas Tsimikas is. So therefore, his attacking was very poor, I thought, today. But how did you see his performance on the other side? Because fullbacks are so key when we play well, our fullbacks play well.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we also just acknowledge that DJ Spence is a really cool nickname, and he should run with that? But
so I thought as well. I actually thought it sounded really cool.
Can you imagine if he scored and then he did like the Heskey celebration?
Yeah.
He scored the weekend, didn't he, against QPR? Did he?
Did he do that?
Did like 30 yards out? No, he never. But
I don't think he did the celebration.
You've got to do it. It's a banker right there.
Yeah, listen, Tsimikas, poor going forward for most of the game. Keyword most, because he ultimately.
I was gonna.
But listen, I think Tsimikas, we're so grateful to have him, but unfortunately for us, I think he falls into that Kelleher category of it's going to be hard to hold on to him, because Kelleher has proven that he could be a first choice somewhere in Europe's top 5 leagues somewhere. Tsimikas has also proven that he is one of the league's better left backs. Like, how many left backs in the Premier League are clearly and conclusively better than Kostas Tsimikas, based on what we've seen from him this season? I can't name many. So hopefully it will just be Kelleher that receives offers, because I would like to keep Tsimikas for as long as possible. But yeah, he wasn't clearly and conclusively better than Joe Gomez today, who is not a true wing back, at least by our definition of that. But ultimately, as we know, made the difference with his right foot, which I don't know. Does Andy Robertson have a right foot? Has Andy Robertson ever used his right foot?
Doesn't need it, mate. How many right-footed players use a left foot? This is the thing about left footers. Watch a right footer and see how many times he uses left foot.
But credit me, Pat Griscon on the back. I spoke about Tsimikas's right foot very earlier on in the season, didn't we, Conrad? Remember, I said his ability to dribble with both feet and use his right foot makes him a very good attacking fullback. Even possibly the potential.
He wasn't today. He wasn't. Let's Camden. He wasn't.
But he wasn't Conrad. Yes, you're right. He wasn't Conrad.
Andy Robertson man of match against Arsenal, and people are giving it to Joe Matip, who had a shocking first half. But we're not going to get into that.
I thought Robbo was a good shout.
Robert was
literally Saka. A bonglehorse saying Saka would do any left back in the world. Well, he played Robertson and he took him out his pocket. But that doesn't fit the narrative, guys. Unfortunately.
No. But one player.
Oh,
fucking hell. It was a nightmare listening to Mataface and Dixon today. It was unbelievable.
That's really got you, guys. Like, I've not seen you this wound up by commentators for a while.
No, man, honestly, it was really bad. And this is one time where I wish Evan would swap commentary, because I'm sure Evan had some brilliant commentary from... And who was it today, Evan, on that side of the pond? Can you remember? Whoever it was, it would have been better than these guys.
It might have been Lee Dixon, because that's Evan's face when it's
Lee Dixon only does the Premier League. I couldn't even tell you who it was. Tell you who's an absolute travesty that I have to listen to.
I've never heard that word in ages, Evan.
I have to listen to Steve Nicol at halftime.
Oh, Steve Nicol. What a player.
And
terrible
let me tell you, apparently he was a decent player.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
He does not. It's crazy how you can play the game at such a high level for such a long time and have such an elementary understanding of the game. Like, that is just he just does my head in. I can't stand Steve Nicol.
Sonny says you've set off Conroy, so we're going to very quickly move on from the left back situation.
By the way, what a cross by Tsimikas. All jokes aside, that was a tremendous cross. Like, that was.
We're going to get to that. But I want to ask Dan's opinion on the other sort of changes in the team and how he thought they fared, which was the midfield. Mm-hmm. So I think it was Elliott and Naby alongside Fabinho. Some people still think that it was Ox. I think they changed it around in the second half, which I'm going to come to. But I think for sure in the first half it was Fabinho, Elliott, and Naby. How did you think they fared as a trio or individually?
Not particularly outstandingly, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think we struggled to get anything going really in the first half. We dominated possession for large parts, but whenever we got towards the final third, we ended up making a mess of it. But I think it was mainly due to individual errors. Harvey Elliott was pretty anonymous, wasn't he, really? He never really got into the game at all. He had the odd moment from the corner of the box when he was cutting in on his left foot, and you thought, okay, yeah, here we go, make something happen. But it never really came off. And I wonder, we spoke about sort of Joe Gomez's lack of rhythm. I wonder whether not seeing Harvey Elliott for a number of weeks has sort of played into that, because I thought he really struggled in possession. I saw quite a lot of criticism for Oxlade-Chamberlain on Twitter, which I was actually quite surprised about. I mean, you guys might completely adhere to the fact he had a poor game, but I thought he did okay. I honestly think he did okay. I know he was absolutely livid when he got taken off. He seemed to mouth, "I haven't played for weeks," which was interesting. But yeah, I thought he all the things you'd expect from an Oxlade-Chamberlain performance in terms of being relatively dynamic when he got hold of the ball, looking to make things happen, linked up quite nicely at times, I thought, with Elliott when possible. So yeah, I was okay with him. I thought Elliott was actually worse personally.
It's a difficult one, Dan. Oh man, I don't know how to look at this, and I don't know how to speak about this, Conrad. I don't know if you want to share your thoughts first.
I
Because
agree.
I disagree. I disagree, and I think, and the reason why I'll go first, then you can balance it up by agreeing, and then Conroy, and then Evan can have his say and probably level it out. But at the moment, so I look at it the other way around. I think Elliot's struggled to get into the game, but when he did get the touches, when he did get on the ball, he was far neater and far more composed in his thinking. When he got the ball, he knew what to do, but he just couldn't get involved in the game enough. And that's an absolute rhythm thing. That's absolutely possibly a physical thing at this stage because he's not possibly physically at his peak. On the other hand, Oxlade-Chamberlain is a very experienced football player now. And I still feel he plays the game at his pace as opposed to Liverpool's pace. I think he struggles to adapt to the pace that we're playing it at when wherever role he's given. I get what you're saying, Dan. I did see glimpses of him trying to increase the speed when he got, and what we know about Oxlade-Chamberlain is when he gets the ball, he likes to run directly at you and make something happen out of nothing. I also think maybe I'm being a bit too harsh because he's being moved around in a 4-4-2.
I think when Ox makes a mistake, Grizz, Twitter goes mental. Keita gave the ball away 6 times in the first half. I've never seen one tweet about it. You know what I mean?
Well, we're going to Naby's performance, but in terms of the Harvey versus Ox right now, I can most definitely see why Harvey would be the future and kept, and Oxlade not kept. That's what I'm trying to get at, and I see why. The more I see of Ox every time there's an appearance or a chance for him, the more I see why. And even Ox over Naby for that matter. Sorry, obviously Ox is going to be kept over Harvey. That's a stupid comparison by me. Sorry. But I can definitely see why Ox will be kept over Naby then, Conroy, for that argument. That's a more of an argument and debate to be had.
Yeah, no, see, the thing is, Grizz, I'm not making this like the overall thing. I'm just on today's performance. I do feel like there's certain scapegoats that it's like a draft tweet that's ready to go. And it's the same. People are predictable. It's every week. You see it. But today, if you actually watched it, I've got to give Ox credit. Like, you see, like games where he tries to run in empty spaces. But see, to be fair, today I thought his movement was quite good. Like he was dropping it in the spaces, the ball was on. Right, his end product at times wasn't great, but he was always trying to make stuff happen. There's several games where he's been poor. I don't think today. I think it's unfair to say he was poor today. I feel like a lot of the time, especially in the first half, he was trying to make stuff happen. His movement was good. He was running the channels at times. He was trying to constantly make stuff happen. And I just think it's one of them that, for me, it's a copy and paste job today, that people have maybe seen Ox in the past and they're ready to go to him. But I actually think he was actually, especially first half, I thought he actually was trying to make things happen. And at times, yes, I'm not saying he was immaculate, but I thought he did get involved in the game. And for me, you get credit for that because you're not hiding. And I didn't think he did today. But obviously, Elliot as a young player, like no one's worried about Elliot. He's played different positions as well.
Yeah, I mean that's why I kind of said, look, let's get away from the comparison of Elliot and Ox and more Ox and Naby because they're the two players that are running out of contract in terms of sort of last 18 months and sort of squad players. I think Naby's ahead of him. But Evan, your chance to wipe the floor with this, to make it 3-1 or to make it 2-2.
I don't think Ox was like particularly like a negative presence in our midfield. You know what I mean? He wasn't actively preventing us from winning the game. You know what I mean? And when you're playing really badly, you end up being a negative presence. He wasn't that, but at the same time, he wasn't making things tick the way that Naby can. And you know, the difference in quality between Naby Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain is, I think, we're talking about a country mile here. Naby Keita is just so much the more complete midfield presence. We all know what Oxlade-Chamberlain's good at. We all know what his attributes are. I thought he looked really fast. I thought he looked really physically fit today. And maybe that's just, you know, obviously not.
No, he's looked that for a few weeks, to be honest with you.
And you know, I thought he had a burst through midfield where I thought he looked like the fastest player on the pitch. And you know, credit to Andreas Schlumberger because his work doesn't end at, you know, Naby Keita and Joel Matip and Thiago. So, you know, credit to Dr. Andreas, but
Wasn't he only brought in for Naby? No, that was the rumors.
I've heard that. Rumor has it, Grizz. He's Naby's private physical therapist.
100 WhatsApp messages later.
Yeah, apparently, But listen, Ox wasn't bad. I don't think he deserved to be hooked, in my opinion. I thought he had positives that he brought. But if this becomes a wider conversation about like his future at Liverpool versus Naby Keita's future and the insinuation that we have to choose between one or the other for a contract extension, it's Naby Keita by a clear distance. He's just more suited to what we do. He's the pure midfield player. He's clearly fancied by arguably our greatest ever manager quite a bit more than the other guy. So it seems like a clear decision to me.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think it's the fitness was the reason it became a proper conversation at the start of the season, because they both missed a lot of games, didn't they?
Over the summer, yeah.
But it can't be.
When we were talking about like why we needed a midfielder last summer, in my opinion, it was because Naby Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain weren't available enough. But however, we have made noticeable changes and things, knock on wood, are different now for the likes of Joel Matip and Naby Keita. So,
but this is my point, guys. I agree with you. I agree with all of us and everyone that it was about it was who's going to be, but we can't say it was a case of whoever remains the most consistently fit will get an extension. It can't be because of that. At some point, it has to be who has shown more. Obviously, the fitness has to come into light, but both have remained fit from the majority of the season. And so therefore the decision has to be made on, because both of them aren't going to get an extension. Do we agree on that much?
Guys? No, now it's about the performance, because I'm saying
now
at the start of the season
performance.
it was slightly different. I think availability was a bit rare.
So I feel as though you guys are defending his performance, but I don't see, and I think Klopp agreed, I don't see that performance that you guys saw in him. And I don't know where these excuses. Why are the excuses for Oxlade-Chamberlain?
Yeah, but
for me,
I thought he was good. He was
I
decent.
didn't see it. And
Naby was shocking today, but no one's talking about that.
I don't think Naby was shocking.
Naby was really solid.
Guys, we need to rewatch the game. Naby gave the ball about 6 times in the first half, right? I'll get the stats.
Here's the thing. Here's what we're not going to do as actual intellectuals of the game. How many times you lose possession actually is a mark of a really good player.
No, we didn't play a good pass. We didn't play a pass the first half.
Okay, and that goes for just losing the ball in possession as well. Go look at the leagues.
I'm going to ask
in Europe.
I'm not talking about you don't try. I'm saying literally, I didn't see him play a 6-yard pass in the first half. I seen him give the ball away.
The game, then. You weren't watching the game.
I disagree. I thought Keita was poor. Like, I really thought he was poor.
But again,
comments like, did the chat agree? Did you think Keita was poor as well today?
I still haven't worked out. Have you guys worked out how to do the poll in the chat?
No, I don't know.
We need to work out. We need to work out how to do that.
On this game, guys, it's not about the end of the season. On this game, right? I just don't like when people get scapegoated, the same thing, copy and paste, and that's what it looks like happened to me. If you want to say they're both poor, fair, but Keita was just as bad as Oxlade, and I think that's a fair estimation if you watch the game.
Yeah, for me, there was just too much criticism of Oxlade-Chamberlain for what I thought was an okay / good performance. I don't think he did anything particularly wrong, and I think there was plenty of other performances on par in terms of how poor they were. We're going to come on to Jota later. His all-round performance was far worse than Oxlade-Chamberlain's, and when Oxlade-Chamberlain got took off, and even at half-time, Twitter was full of people ripping him, and I just hadn't seen that. I just hadn't seen that game. I thought, Javier's a young lad, so I understand why we wouldn't criticise him. And I'm glad we don't, because I think he's an outstanding footballer and a brilliant talent. But to jump on Oxlade-Chamberlain was just weird, I thought, because he didn't do anything wrong. And he was okay.
We move on then, swiftly.
The chat's mixed as well, so
of course, it's never going to be black and white. That's the beauty of opinions, isn't it? It's subjective, and people see the game so differently. How many times have we come on and said something and then we're blown away with other people's reactions to what we've said, and it's like, we question ourselves. Did we watch the same game? Or
I think Evan's checking the stats now. That's what he's trying to do with the phone there.
Evan's,
Sorry, I got an
no,
email.
look, me and Evan saw the
Right.
game. Me and Evan saw the game differently. Dan and Conroy saw it differently, and the chat has proven,
Because it's
completely
probably
different.
more because it's like I don't like when people just get slammed all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like
I agree with you. How many times have we spoke about that? We hate that.
Yeah.
But then that shouldn't disguise the fact that on the game today and the fact that Jurgen Klopp hauled him off, and it was a hauling off when he made 4 substitutions. He thought he was one of the 4 players that deserved to be taken
who
off.
else came off though? Keita at the same time.
Of course, absolutely.
And Fabinho as well, which is a bit of a
that argument's a bit of a slippery slope because
I'll take
the
that
best
back.
anchor man in the world also came off.
I'll take that back. I agree. Where was I going with that one? Because Fabinho, guys, was a one-man wrecking machine in that midfield. He was so good again. I think we can agree on that. We can't be split on Fabinho's performance. It was monumental again.
You might be right, Grizz. It might be just more a thing when you're watching it that you want him to be better because people are just like waiting, with the chopping block from potentially. But maybe that's it. But as I said, I thought they were both poor. Just to finish that, I thought sorry. I thought no, I didn't think both of them were great, and I just thought one was getting it worse than the other.
Only Fabinho stood out. We'll agree to agree on that point. Only Fabinho stood out. And look, we're going to go on to the forwards and sort of. I was surprised. I think Dan said it. Was you, Dan? Was it you who said you were surprised to see Jota start, or someone said they were surprised to see Jota? Evan. So we'll go to Evan because I saw a tweet of Evan that I picked out and questioned, and the way Bobby started, I thought this is going to be one of the performances where, on the back of his last cameo, we forget Bobby Firmino. We forget what he brings to this team. He started off like the old Bobby Firmino, the false number 9 that every other false number 9 dreams of. His touch, his vision, his calmness, everything that's we love about Bobby, we saw in that opening 20 minutes. I think he was really poor after that, Evan. I'm gonna give Jota to someone else, and it culminated him sort of having that one-on-one chance where if you're playing at the elite level, it's one of those. Do you remember we discussed how many times have we discussed the Mane chance at Wembley, and then the other, what was the other miss? Jota miss, I think we discussed. It's one of those chances where elite forwards in a tight game, you have to put away.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would ask you, how do you put that away? Would you be saying that he trickled off after the first 20? Would you still be saying that?
Performance-wise, overall, yes.
Okay.
Because his performance after that, he didn't do all the things. His work rate was outstanding today. His work rate was, you could tell in terms of peak fitness and energy-wise, he's back to Bobby Firmino. But I thought him being the senior attacker today, the most experienced Liverpool forward, without Mane and Salah there, I thought he should have been more. I think he should have been more careful in possession, knowing that Nottingham Forest literally only prayed and attacked us when we lost the ball. That was just the way I looked at it.
Yeah, first of all, let's get it out of the way. He absolutely should have scored. Absolutely no debate to be had there. If there was a noticeable drop off after 20 minutes, I didn't notice it. I'll take your word for it. I just thought he was clearly probably our best player on the night, in my opinion. I thought maybe here's the thing, and it might just be recency bias because let's be honest, we haven't been playing with a false 9 for a while due to his injury problems and Jota just being unable to stop scoring. Maybe I'm just being reminded of what his standard is when he's fit, and maybe I'm just the shock effect of that. But yeah, some of the flicks and some of the passes, a lot of them were coming off. I don't think he was helped at all by his teammates' inability to retain possession, specifically Diogo Jota
that's a fair point.
and Harvey Elliott at times. I think sometimes it looks bad when he flicks it to them and then they immediately lose it. And then in your head, you're kind of just like, wow, Liverpool just lost the ball. It's like, no, Firmino actually did what he was supposed to do. Maybe if he had some sharper teammates around him, not only would we have gone into halftime in the lead. Liverbird seems to agree with me.
Yeah.
But obviously there's no excuse for that either, because I think Harvey Elliott and Diogo Jota are both good enough to feed off of what Roberto Firmino does. So, yeah, I thought he was super casual when he went one-on-one. I think if you're going to dink the keeper, you have to show the keeper that you can potentially do something else as well. Like, oh, I could take it around you. I could shoot it, but I also could dink you. I think from the second he goes through,
it's brilliant. There's so many differences. It's exactly. Sorry. Yeah. I'm just putting them up. The difference of opinions. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's totally fine. And again, players who are tasked with doing something out of the ordinary are going to lose the ball. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold has lost the ball more than any other player in the Premier League this season. So there you go. But obviously when he goes through on goal, I think Horvat and Firmino both know from the very start, I'm going to dink you. He knows.
It's the most nervous I've ever seen him go. His face just like, he just gives it away. And
what was annoying to me, I don't know who was on commentary, but they're saying, was he a bit selfish there? The first thing he does is look to see where Diogo is. And then, the pass just isn't on. So I think what you got to do in Firmino's situation is you got to come at the keeper with a little more pace, because that'll make the keeper say, oh, if I stand up too tall, he's just going to go around me.
He was almost at a standstill, wasn't he? At the time of impact of the shot, he was at a standstill. So from that standstill, a half-intelligent keeper can work out this is only going one way. So it's going to be a chip. So that's what gave away. The selfish point, that's the first thing you associate with Bobby. He tries to lay it for someone. Could he have? I think it was a difficult layoff as well.
I don't think the pass was ever on.
Maybe it's behind him, wasn't he?
Maybe it's on right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, yeah.
But if he gives it to him right at the beginning, that doesn't increase the likelihood of us scoring.
Because there's a defender at that side as well.
Exactly. There's a defender, so squaring it to him. I don't think the pass is ever truly on. Kind of in the way it wasn't ever truly on for Mo when Jurgen was yelling at him last week.
Right.
Pass wasn't ever fully on. So he obviously should score. But listen, if there is one player who's been on the fringes lately, but I think today made a statement in the sense that I could potentially make a big difference in our hunt for silverware this season, I thought it was Roberto Firmino. And we all know how Klopp likes him. Like, if assuming everybody's fully fit and the Champions League final was tomorrow, nobody would be surprised if Diogo Jota, the second highest Premier League goal scorer right now, held bench for Roberto Firmino. That wouldn't surprise any of us, right? Just knowing who Jurgen Klopp is. Right. So.
No, I think you make a good point at the end there. We're not going to come to Diogo Jota yet, because we're going to come to halftime, Dan. Halftime. I thought Nottingham Forest have put in a lot of work here. Pretty much chasing the ball, even though we haven't kept it and worked them enough in terms of not only chances, but worked them enough in terms of chasing, because they still had 3 or 4 counter-attacks, which were our own making. What minute, guys? I can't remember now. Shit, I should have done some research. But second half, very quickly, it seemed very quickly, he changes half the team, doesn't he? What do you think about sort of the four substitutions in one goal?
Yeah, it was something we don't see very often, obviously, because we don't have that many substitutions in the Premier League for a kickoff. But also, I often think Jurgen Klopp's quite reticent to use changes, particularly early on in the game. He seems to like to let the starting 11 go. But for me, those changes were necessary because you're right in what you say with Nottingham Forest. They're obviously harrying us and putting us under pressure and going man for man and really making it a battle at times as well. And as I said right at the top, you've got to credit them for what they did. I know people say it was their cup final, they've left everything on the pitch, etc., etc., etc. But they still have to do it. And they matched us for large parts of that game. And in there, that Brennan Johnson and Jed Spence, they've got a couple of really talented footballers who actually gave us a few scares in defence as well. And that's Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahim Konate we're talking about. So fair play to them. But yeah, in terms of our changes, we needed to do it because it obviously gave us that little bit of extra quality, like the quality level went up just slightly with those changes.
Let me just remind you of the changes. 64th minute, Oxlade, Elliott, Naby and Fabinho are replaced by Diaz, Minamino, Henderson, and Thiago.
Yeah. So that's for me, that's an up in quality, isn't it? I mean, the Fabinho one, we could all agree, you're not really getting a better number 6 than Fabinho in world football again, let alone on the bench. But yeah, for me, when you bring like the Thiago and Henderson on, you are asking this side to control the game a little bit more and be able to dictate play. But it never truly worked out like that, did it? If we're going to be honest, Nottingham Forest continued doing what they were doing. So yeah, a little bit of surprise to see him make them changes, but at the same time, really necessary.
Yeah, look, not only were the personnel changed, Conway, but the shape changed. So what we went to was basically a 4-4-1-1. So Minamino went to the right. We tried it with the personnel that was on the pitch before the substitution. So before the substitutions, Ox went wide left, Elia went wide right, Bobby behind Jota, who went central, and then double pivot of obviously before the substitutions, Fabinho and Keita. And then obviously the changes meant Thiago and Henderson came in the middle. And I thought, see, this is where, guys, I'm not picking on Ox. I love every single Liverpool football player. I love them all. Everyone who wears a red shirt, I love them all. Absolutely. Taki Minamino, for me, Conroy, done more in that cameo than Ox did. Taki Minamino played that wide right role, I thought, very, very effectively. I just think his game intelligence is far more than Ox's, and he's adapting to Klopp's instructions or Pep's instructions, whatever the case may be. I was mightily impressed with Taki's little cameo again.
Yeah, he was okay, Chris. But to be fair, when a Minamino can come on with those players, he's not done anything. It's like cutting a team up. To be fair, he nearly put Thiago through for the 1-2. I'll give him that. But he basically just kept the ball, which is fair enough. But that can look good as well.
Basically kept the ball.
But if you don't have other players, you're not going to score a goal. So like if just Minamino's on the park there, you're not going to cut the team open, are you? So that looks great when you get the win. But what if we don't get the win tonight through Tsimikas and Jota? Like, so I think sometimes it's like that's good. I'm happy with that. Sorry, I'm just meaning it's like I think it's keeping it tidy and keeping the balls fine. But I don't want to make it the Ox thing again. But Ox is going to try and do something that can get us a goal. And I think it's slightly different. That's what I mean. Like I think Taki Minamino's a much more immaculate player, tidy player, but he's from the Japanese league, where like majority of them are very technically good players for that. So what I mean is, I think he done well, but I think it's like it's not. I didn't think he blew me away. If you know what I mean. I still think he just kept it tidy and decent, like which is fine. And each to their own. But I thought he was decent, which is good, which is fine. But I thought it was okay. I didn't think, maybe I'm being a bit unfair. I didn't think anybody in my head got over a 6.5 today. So that's why I'm being more cynical on it. And maybe I'll rewatch it and I'll change my tune on Taki, because I know what you mean, Grizz. Sometimes he's another who gets maybe a bit of unfair criticism as well. So I'll rewatch it on that. But that's where my head's at with
Jonathan with a brilliant profile picture. I hope that was your birthday and not just a normal night out for you, Jonathan. He says, Pete Minamino sucking both defenders on Jota's goal. Come on, boys. Yeah, look, again, I thought his movement was intelligent. I thought his passing and keeping hold of the ball in tight situations when pressed I thought he was immaculate. I thought he'd done more for the role that he was asked. But look, again, it's one of those things that everyone sees it differently. Exactly. But saying that, Evan, as Dan says, even though we made those changes, the flow of the game didn't really change much. They were really attacking us. When they had counters, they were getting numbers to sort of get into the box and try to penetrate and hurt us. They weren't just sitting back like we see teams play against us. I thought they gave a very good account of themselves. But yet, I kind of felt one goal will be enough here. It wasn't one of those games where we're going to smash them 2-3-0. It became a stage where I knew, just put one move together, just put one bit of quality together and fucking put us out of our misery, so to speak. The much maligned Tsimikas, well, much maligned by me, I should say, and the much maligned Jota, again, by me, probably the worst player on the pitch Diogo Jota.
100%.
100%.
But without a doubt, and I said this again and again and again, and I'll carry on saying it, you keep Diogo Jota on the pitch as much as you possibly can, because if there's a chance, for me, he's still the best finisher apart from Mohamed Salah, in my opinion, who's most likely to score. And that's exactly what happens. One bit of quality from the two, possibly 5 out of 10 players in the pitch, and it's a goal.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Shaqiri at home to Barcelona in 2019 in the second leg. Everyone forgets, or not everyone, but people forget how fucking shocking Shaqiri was on the night against Barcelona. But he has that incredible cross to Wijnaldum, and that's all people remember. And fair enough, maybe that's why you keep those types of players on the pitch, because they can make something out of nothing. But yeah, Diogo Jota's worst performance in a Liverpool shirt by a country mile. I talked earlier about how I thought Oxlade-Chamberlain was unlucky to get hooked because I didn't think he was actively making us worse, despite not really standing out. Diogo Jota was actively dragging people's ratings down around him. He probably knocked a solid 0.5 off of Firmino, off of Tsimikas.
I would give you that for Firmino.
No,
I would.
Like in basketball, in American basketball, they call it a plus-minus rating. So Diogo Jota's plus-minus rating was mainly minus today. But despite putting in one of the worst individual performances of the Klopp era, in my opinion, he wins the game. And listen, isn't that what great goal scorers do? The amount of times I grew up watching Ruud van Nistelrooy look like someone's drunk uncle out on the pitch at Old Trafford, and then he'd tap it in from 5 yards and win Manchester United the game. I mean, if I had $1, I'd be a rich man. But so, maybe Jota's got a bit of that gene too. But listen, I know Jota's capable of having an effective game in terms of his general play. Hasn't really shown that too much this month. That was mainly something he was doing towards the tail end of 2021 when Firmino was absent and he was tasked with various false nine duties. I thought he was sort of learning how to do that, an acceptable impersonation of that role, but not today. Not today. He's just, chasing his first touch around the pitch.
As we know, Diogo watches the show and is a very, very valued member of the chat, and he always has a thing or two to say about himself, and he's very honest usually, and he's honest again. He says, just back from the recovery massage, Grizz. I had another poor game except for one clinical movement. Love the show as always.
Grizz,
Diogo, we love you.
£60,000 a week, and he only gives us $5. That's insane.
Yeah. We're working our way upwards. We're working our way upwards.
End up getting the golden boot 100%, right? And he's going to have like 5 out of 10 performances for the rest of the season, and he's going to get a golden boot. That's what's going to happen. You can see it.
Dan, I want to ask you about Jota. Sticking on Jota, because he is a bit of an enigma, isn't he? I don't know. As Evan says, we've seen better games from him, and he was learning, and he was getting a lot of praise before the injury. Was it injury or what was it? An injury or COVID?
Yeah, his ankle injury happened. Yeah.
So he was getting a lot of praise in terms of not only we know about his goal scoring, sniffing out chances, sniffing out a goal out of nothing, but he was also getting praise, and rightly so, for his link-up play, developing as a central striker, his movement, his touch and everything was getting better and better and better. Where do you stand in terms of his position? Because I know we've had a bit of a dilemma now with the absence of Bobby and Jota, meaning Mane comes in there and Diaz on the left. Where do you stand in terms of what's his best role for us going forward, possibly next season as well? How do you see his involvement?
Yeah, I still think he's essential of a front three, personally, simply because Luis Diaz is so good on the left, and you can't really ignore that. As is Sadio Mane, obviously, for obvious reasons. So for me, Jota is still the central figure. For me, he was doing a very good Bobby Firmino impression once. He's almost Firmino light for a little while, and his link-up play and his involvement around the pitch was getting nice. But it was never quite Firmino level. Firmino's still the past master at that. But what Jota was bringing was he was able to do that sort of thing, and he was chipping in with goals, which is something Firmino has struggled with in the past. But now, ever since he's come back from the ankle injury, Jota quite simply can't string 2 touches together, but he's still finding a way of popping up in the big moments. So He reminds me of Michael Owen of yesteryear. I don't particularly like the fella anymore, but he could be completely missing in a game for 85 minutes and just pop up with the most crucial moments, similar to Evans' Ruvan Nistelrooy reference. So for me, as long as Jota keeps staying on the pitch, we've got half a chance. But at the same time, we do also need his performances to get better, because when these big games start coming thick and fast, the calls for Firmino to start over him are only going to get louder. Because if our interplay and our football is as bad as it was today, and Jota is almost hindering that, we've got a serious problem against your Man Cities of this world.
Conor, I was going to ask you. I don't know if you want to, if I'm going to ask you what you was about to say, but Dan makes a good point there about as long as the goals or the output is there, and for sure output is definitely there in terms of our forwards are all scoring goals. Like I think we've got the top 4 scorers or something like that. Mad now because Mane's up there, Jota's up there, we know Mohamed Salah's up there. But do we as fans maybe need to get away from expecting the fluid 3 that we always had for the 3-4 seasons in terms of system, knowing where they are? And do we have to maybe get away from that fact and say, look, we've got 5 extremely different forwards, and it's all about the efficiency and the output and not about sort of how they look as a collective maybe? Or will that take time?
No, I think the thing is, I think Jota's in poor form as well. I do think Dan's right. He was linking up well when he was, before the injury. So I think he's in a poor run, but Klopp's in a dilemma because he still turns up for crucial moments. That's why, and he's hoping he kind of plays him back into form. So I don't think we have to worry a lot about that. I think the thing is though, if you've got Jota, Mane, Diaz, Salah, any front 3 from that, it's like that. It's efficiency, it's direct. Firmino, as I've said for the past couple of weeks, and I think we were proved right the other night, that he's a different instrument that you should not get rid of because he brings something very different. The way he can hold the ball and make it stick. Everyone was ready to sell him a couple of weeks ago, and then you seen we couldn't string a pass against Arsenal, and then he comes on and makes a difference. Inter Milan as well. He's just so different. So I think you've got to look at it like 2 different styles. With those 4, you're probably going to be more output, still link up to a certain good standard, but not the same as Firmino. And I think right now you're fine, because if you play Man City and Firmino starts, Jota does well when he comes off the bench. Bear in mind when he first started his Liverpool career, he came on, I think West Ham, I think 5 games he came on and scored or something like that. Came on and made an impact. So I'm happy either way. I think the choice, the depth we've got is great, but I just think you've got to think that front 3 does this, and if you're maybe including Firmino, it's slightly different. Or it's better at hold up, because I don't think you're never going to get a Firmino replacement. You're never going to get one of them to be as good as that at holding it up. But then you're never going to get Firmino to be a killer in front of goal either. So you just need to take the good with the bad.
See, this is the dilemma, isn't it? Exactly what you said the last 2 sentences. You're never going to get a Firmino link-up striker, yet you're never going to make Firmino finish those type of chances that he had today. He's just
take your poison, right, Chris?
That's it. It's ironic though, when we played Man City when Jota just signed, sorry Grizz, remember he played for the 4 and we're all fuming because he wouldn't take Firmino out of the team. Ironically, it's probably going to be the opposite for the next Man City game, which is, life is funny.
You know, it's crazy. Real quickly on one more thing on Firmino. My least 2 favorite words in the English Twitter dictionary right now are Firmino replacement. Spoiler alert, there is no Firmino replacement by the literal definition of the words. Will we bring in a new player if Bobby Firmino is sold in attack? Yes, but he's not the Firmino replacement. There's not some close genetic replication of Roberto Firmino out there. We will play football in a different way when he is no longer a Liverpool player. And
I think we're seeing that, aren't we? And
we already have 7 months, 8 months of examples. So there you go.
Good and bad in between that as well.
Yeah.
Am I saying it wrong, guys? Because Rodney's had a go at me a few times in the chat. Firmino.
Or do it, Michael, and does Firmino. That does my head in.
Firmino? Yeah.
Am I saying, is it Firmino or Firmino?
I didn't hear you say it like that, but maybe you did.
We'll just say Bobby.
Okay, I'll stick to Bobby because a few people are having a go at me. But come on, guys, if you're still not used to me and my pronunciations, you're on the wrong channel, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's Paul
Wait to hear
Potts.
Dan's pronunciation of this guy.
Well, we'll get to that right now, Dan. What a segue into, because even though we've taken the lead, just before we take the lead, we should be behind, and then it's a total different game. I know maybe we still win and come back or whatever, but the way the game was going, it looked like first goal wins, and for sure they carve us open, or however you want to put it. And
yeah, they did.
What happened there?
They put together probably the best move of the match at that point. It was in transition, and Conroy alluded to us looking sort of dangerous in transition earlier on, which he was right about. But they win the ball sort of midfield, and they broke on us rapid out to the right. Incredible ball into the box. And it was reminiscent of the goal he scored against Arsenal, I think I'm right in saying, in the earlier rounds. And Philip Zinkernagel has to score. He just has to score. Like, in one sense, when he gets the contact, he's done the right thing in terms of he's gone back the opposite way.
The other
and
way,
you think, okay, yeah, he's got that right. He's made the right decision at least. But the execution, he has to hit the target. Because if he hits the target, Alisson's gone that way. It's 1-0 Nottingham Forest. So to miss that, and you know what I felt as soon as he did miss that, I thought, it's our day then. You know what I mean? Because you're right, it was almost like that first goal wins. And in games like this, you know, if you're the lesser team, in inverted commas, you're made to rue them missed chances. And as soon as he put that wide, I thought, well, that's you then. That's done.
Brilliant insight from the chat as usual, because they tell us he's the former Boulder Guild striker, because they've been the name in Europa League, haven't they?
They beat Celtic, didn't they? Yeah, the other week. Yeah,
but they got through as well. So they're through the quarter final against Roma, who previously they bet, was it 5-6-1?
Yeah,
Mourinho.
Yeah,
and they knocked someone else. They knocked a good team out as well. I don't know if anyone knows in the chat. Just recently, they beat a good team as well. I can't remember, but they're a good team. They play good football.
They missed that chance. We obviously score. They have another situation, Conroy. Thoughts on it? Sort of the penalty. Guy goes through. I shouted penalty straight away. Why? Fuck knows. Why would I be shouting penalty as a Liverpool fan? Yeah, I need to have a word. I think it was in sort of, haha, that's a pen. It was one of those ones. So I wasn't demanding a penalty. I was like, that's a fucking penalty.
Just like you watching a football, you just like you just see the pattern.
Did you think the same, or did you think, nah, he's dived in? Did you all? No. Did you change your mind on replay?
Do you know what, Grizz? I wasn't sure, because the thing is, Alisson doesn't go. Alisson the other week was getting praise against Arsenal for not diving down, and he completely went out the opposite way this time, right? Now, I wasn't sure, and I'm not, you know, I'm quite honest about decisions. I really wasn't sure, because it was like, it looked strange, the movement of the player. You know, usually if they touch it, it's quite clear cut. On review, I've got to be honest, I've looked at it a few times. I was going to say, but it's not brilliant. It's luck. It's absolute luck. I think what happens is Alisson puts his hand down, and the player, for some reason, it doesn't obviously mean it, he lifts his leg above the hand that could catch his left foot, I think. And then, because there's no contact with that, it's his right leg that he drags, which instigates the contact with Alisson. Now, that is just pure luck from Alisson's part, because I think if his left foot touches him, it's a clear pen. I think because he drags his right leg, they would say that's instigating contact, a bit like with Vardy. You've seen what he used to do with penalties, used to put his leg over the way. And I think they look at that as an instigation. And I'm not, listen, you know I'm honest. You know I've disagreed with you many times, but for me, that's the correct decision. I think that's a very good decision, actually. I think the fact that Pawson doesn't spot, listen, I'm not Craig Pawson's biggest fan.
Oh my God. I'd ban you if he was, mate.
But in fairness, Chris, that is a good call, not blowing the whistle straight away. I've got to give him, that is a good decision, because he wasn't sure. He's like, that looks a bit strange. And ultimately, I think it's a good decision. I think it's a correct decision. I think it's luck that he doesn't touch him, but if it's the right leg and the contact, for me, that's instigating it. That's not the what would you say, the initial challenge. So him leaving his leg there instigates it. So I think that's what they'll say, and that's why it wasn't given.
Ivan, Dala makes a great point, and I like this point about Alisson. Alisson has a great self-awareness in such situations. What's your thoughts on that situation that occurred quite late on?
You've seen them given, but I'm not surprised that this wasn't given, because the foot that makes contact with Alisson, he's the one that initiates the contact. Like I think in those coming together between the player rushing in one-on-one and the keeper, if the keeper initiates the contact and like misses the ball, then you see them given. In this situation, Alisson pulls out and misses Ryan Yates, and it's Ryan Yates who moves his foot down to initiate the contact. You know what I mean? Sometimes you see players drag their legs like when it's level and they get clipped and they call that. But because his leg was clearly going to go over Alisson's and then he sticks it down unnaturally. You can see why he's fishing for the contact. So, but at the same time, I can remember only a few years ago, Harry Kane got a penalty at Anfield like that. The infamous John Moss refereeing disaster. But yeah, it's the correct call. Alisson does have great self-awareness. He's the best keeper on the planet. So there you go.
People are going to throw this at us. I knew the Jota incident would be coming up. Dan, I said to my mates, I've got mates. I said to my mates in the WhatsApp, I said, guys, I think we'd be going mad if that was us and if that was a Jota or Mane. I would have been. Evan and I would have been going mad. I would have demanded a penalty because I would have been going mad that the player didn't go down. He tried to be too honest like Mane does. But that's just my opinion. Who gives a shit about my opinion? What did you think?
For me, well, it's not a penalty. Can't be a penalty. But for me, the Jota one wasn't a penalty. I wasn't going mad at that. I wasn't going mad at the time when they were looking at it VAR. And to this day, I still don't think it's a penalty. For me, if a player, Jota or Yates in this instance, have to make sure there's contact in order to win a free kick or a foul, that's not good enough for me. The foul has to be initiated by the opposing player.
But if they have to ride the challenge or divert their natural run going through, then surely that's a hindrance. That's obstruction.
But do you not think they're different situations though? Because the keeper literally runs into Jota, like whereas that guy sticks his leg out as he's running.
Didn't he? Jota
but what I'm saying is, I would say my argument with that one, was like that the keeper still runs into Jota, like still runs into him, right? I think they're different. Whereas this dangles a leg, and there is difference of significant contact. Like we can argue with the Jota one. I just think they're different situations. I think this one's quite I think it's clear cut. I think it's the instigation. Like you keep saying the change in the path, Chris, but if a defender stands there and you can't get the ball, you don't get a penalty for it.
Exactly.
Just very quickly on that point, and then you come in, Evan. But that's you're talking about a defender standing there, not rushing out at an attacker. The keeper is rushing out at an attacker, stretching out his arm.
Yeah.
If I have to hurdle you, I don't have to hurdle you.
But the left foot, I think, people say it's great self-awareness. I think it's luck. His left foot goes over Alisson's hand. So the right foot has really got, like, the right foot, you don't have to hurdle. So he can just walk normally, not touch it. But he goes like this and sticks his, I don't know why I'm doing the action here. He sticks his right leg back, right, to get the contact. So that isn't natural. Like, I'm not even going to go as natural or unnatural, but he leaves it there to get it touched, right? And a smart striker, well, it's maybe unlucky, would leave his left foot down and let him touch that. But because for some reason, I think I'd say people say self-awareness. I think it's maybe luck.
But I think it's got to be consistent then, because we're going to see so many. But
we have though. Vardy stopped getting them because he kept putting his foot and he wasn't getting penalties for that.
There is consistency in it. Here's the thing: we see it even in the VAR era. Players dragging their legs in one-on-ones with keepers, and they still get penalties. Again, the reason Ryan Yates doesn't get it is because the foot that is clipped by Alisson, Ryan Yates has to do this at the last minute with his foot. Ryan Yates has successfully hurdled Alisson. Like, because Alisson doesn't touch him initially, the other foot doesn't. He has successfully hurdled him. Here's the thing, Grizz. If Yates is on this trajectory with Alisson and he dangles his foot and gets clipped, then absolutely you see those given.
That would be the left foot. That would be the left foot. That initial one. Yeah.
You see those given all the time. Again, go back and watch it. Yates has successfully gone past Alisson. He chooses at the last minute to do this with his foot. I agree. Alisson at that point is not initiating the contact. It's a good call, and in my opinion, VAR worked successfully.
Anything to add, anyone?
I think
No, I
that
think
this
that's
is one
right.
thing they've
Go
been
on.
quite consistent with, Chris, to be honest, because like I've seen it a few times. I think the other day, I think it was might have been us in another game, and the player put his foot out in the box, and the ref, no, it's not a penalty. So I actually think they're okay with this one. People say, "Oh, Liverpool will try all that," but I genuinely think that was a good decision.
Exactly. I couldn't give two shits.
I get
about
what you're
that.
saying, Grizz. I get what you're saying, Grizz. I just
I
think
tell you what I'm
there's been-
saying. I tell you what I'm saying. If anybody doesn't get it, I know you get me. But for the people that don't get me, what I'm saying is, it's going to be difficult then for an attacker to get a penalty in that situation. Then that's the point I'm trying to get to, because if the keeper rushes out at you, do you remember something similar happened in the Man City Newcastle game? You could say Ederson hasn't initiated any contact. Ederson is going for the ball, and the player has gone over him. Or how do we prove initiation from the attacker? He's running at full pelt, because this guy, fair play to him, tries to get up again. So I don't know if he's trying to instigate a fall. If he's trying to instigate a fall, he goes down. Why is he instigating a fall and then carrying on running? So that's why I thought he's not instigating the touch. That's just a natural touch, but he's trying to keep his balance and go through. That's the point I'm trying to make. Because if you're trying to do that, you don't fucking be stupid and carry on trying to run like a hero.
Yeah.
You initiate the contact and you just dive and you go, penalty, and it gets looked at. He tried to continue, which I think always works on referees, because they don't give it. If you stay on your feet, they don't give it anyway. And then the VAR wouldn't have overruled it. Because I think if Craig Paulson gives that doesn't get overturned. That's my point. Yeah,
but to me, I think it's Chris that he realizes he's not getting it and then sticks the leg out, and that's why he's trying.
How does he know he's not getting it?
Because I think
no contact.
Because there's no contact with his left foot, and he's or I don't know how it's came about, Grizz, but that's the first action is the left foot, and anything after that, I'm not getting the ball, I'll stick that out. And I think you've got to try and support those decisions, though, Grizz, because it annoys you when someone, anytime a keeper comes out, and in fairness, I don't Alisson's quite good at it, but some keepers are their own worst enemies in the situation. But I do actually think it's good to support, to try and give, as soon as there's any sort of situation, it's always a pen. I think to me, I know you can't always 100%, but I think on the balance, looking at that, for me, leaves the leg out. And in fairness, I think they have been decent with that in the last, as Evan said, the VAR era, they've been all right with the instigation thing. So I think it's a good decision. I genuinely do. If it was a penalty, if it was us, I would say it's not a penalty. I would stick by that as well. And people are going to say the Jota one, but I think they're two different ones. But
so hold on, did you think the Jota one was a penalty?
I did, because the keeper ran into him, but the keeper still ran straight into him, with his legs up. But listen, I would always debate that one. But
Evan, was Jota one a penalty?
The key difference between the Jota incident and this incident is that Jota doesn't have to do anything with his legs to get contact. Ryan Yates has to stick his leg down into Alisson. Ryan Yates literally makes a stepping motion unnaturally into the keeper, and that is why it is not given. Jota does not have to do anything to initiate the contact for his penalty. That is the key difference. Usually, I mean, once you look at it again, Grizz, I'm sure you'll see what I'm talking about. He has successfully hurdled Alisson. He has done everything right, Ryan Yates. And in my opinion, in the last minute, he just a rush of blood to the head. He's like, oh, I could get a penalty here. And then he sort of bottles it, in my opinion. He sticks his leg down into Alisson. So
as usual, brilliant differences of opinion in the chat. Watch it again, Grizz. Absolutely, I'll watch it again. I could be wrong.
It's been quite a complex match, isn't there? There's been a lot of disagreements on players.
I've been trying to pull it up for the last 5 minutes. They've already released the highlights, ESPN, but they left that VAR decision out of the highlights. So
yeah,
I was going to bring it up on the screen, but
I'm doing a good one, mate.
No, fair enough. I totally agree with this, by the way. I noticed refs seem to turn a blind eye to opposition defenders manhandling our attackers. I mean, it's some of the challenges on Jota, because Jota is a strong fella. They were literally picking him up and hurling him out of the way, and we weren't getting anything. But we saw the victory. We saw it out in the end, Dan. Off we go on international breaks. Oh, man, It's so jarring, isn't it? It's like, why always us? Our two best, most potent, most experienced attackers, Mane and Salah, go off to World Cup qualification playoff against each other But lo and behold, I mean, the chances of that, right? At the most
and
fucking
the final,
crucial,
and the final just there as
at the
well.
most crucial part of the season, two of our best attackers are playing in a playoff. One of them is going to have heartbreak again. We're going to have all that scenario again in the most vital running that I can remember as a Liverpool fan. Where, look, let's not beat around the bush. We're in the semi-finals of the FA Cup, fact. Premier League title race, fact. Benfica in the Champions League. Come on, we should be in the semi-finals of the Champions League.
To a certain extent, but you never know. Darwin Núñez is your favourite player, Chris.
If Darwin Núñez comes back to hold me, I am closing this channel.
You're not coming on the show after that match if that happens.
Exactly.
Like Keith's gonna have to do some top-rated magic that night if that happens.
Dan, bad timing for them too, but I guess for overall the international break come at a good time, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I hate international football and international breaks in particular, but at the same time, I actually think this has come at a decent time for it because we've just had an absolute barrage of football, which you managed to get through. And I think we need just a mini reset and say, okay, let's come back now. And all those big games you just mentioned, the April is absolute chaos. And April to May is just going to be full of games and full of joy potentially. So I actually think this mini 2-week reset has come at a really good time and we can go full tilt from here on out. I actually hope the Egypt-Senegal situation goes in the opposite direction to AFCON because we've had Mane's joy with AFCON. I think Salah could do with a little bit of a pick-me-up in terms of maybe Egypt qualifying for the World Cup. If Salah goes, obviously Klopp alluded to his injury flaring up again earlier on, as well as he alluded to Andy Robertson potentially having COVID. So whether he goes away with Scotland,
that's all we need.
Is a different dynamic altogether. So yeah, but in terms of Liverpool, I actually genuinely believe this break's come at a really healthy time.
I agree with you. I agree with you. First and foremost, we gotta say bye to Sakagard. He's got to run today. He's not in it for the marathon. I'm joking. He's done his stint. People, by the way, people are loving the background is back. They feel at home, like they feel so good that your background's back, the original Evan background.
Guys, unfortunately, it's going to become few and far between. You guys are just going to have to make peace with the new background. And for those of you who missed it, go watch the most recent Colin Con show if you want to poke fun at
Get used to the new,
or express your disappointment, bully me into moving back where I just came from. Yeah, just let me know. But I got to head out, guys. It's been a pleasure. Love the domestic cups. Can't get enough.
Take care, Evan. We'll see you shortly. We'll see you soon, man. We're going to wrap it up very soon as well. Is there a man of the match that comes out of that, Conroy, in your opinion?
Hey, probably Joe Worrell for Nottingham Forest, probably.
Okay.
or Jed Spence.
What a tackle, by the way, Joe Worrell. Yeah, what a tackle. Yeah. That was the first half. Wow.
Yeah.
So here we go. Some people say that he didn't get the ball.
Oh, he did.
Is that confirmed? People in the chat, does anyone think that he didn't get the ball?
I'm certain of it.
I was certain of it as well, at first glance. But a lot of people at the same time, you know how the Twitter timeline goes, and you know when it's at the same time, different people, he didn't get the ball. Here we go. Look, he didn't get the ball. Let us know, people. Did he get the ball?
So what, is it a pen? You think it was a pen?
It's a penalty and not a red card. It's double jeopardy now. But it's definitely a penalty if he doesn't get the ball. Yeah.
Penalty.
But in terms of man of the match, for us, I'd say Joe Gomez.
I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult to choose.
I'm telling you, no one above a 6.5. And I'm being generous.
Fabinho?
No, sorry. You know what? Actually, I take that back. He only played 60 minutes. I would go for Fabinho. I thought he was actually very good. Yeah. Well, maybe we were desensitized Grizz to his performances, but I thought he was still pretty good. I'd probably say Fabinho. Firmino, I still thought was decent, but I still think Fabinho first half was pretty good. And I can't even think. Can't really give the Tsimikas.
We can't even give any honourable shots.
Tsimikas, great cross, great finish. Alisson.
Very good.
Maybe say good self-awareness.
And I think Konate put a foot wrong. I thought VVD got ruffled a few times, but Konate was. Yeah, but I don't think Konate put a foot wrong.
Yeah, I'll go for Fab or Joe, but because Dan said Joe, I'll go for Fabinho.
Yeah, fair enough. On we go. What's next for us? A 2-week break, and then what is it? Is it Watford first?
Watford straight away, yeah, Watford.
Dan, this is the first time in a long time we get a chance to go top and play first.
Yeah.
It's coming to the serious part of the business where I think Conroy said earlier, there's no more mucking about. There's no more space for any kind of complacency in terms of team selection, in terms of he needs minutes. Now, fuck all that now. Now it's a matter of picking the best 11 every time, hoping everyone's fit. It really is crunch time now, isn't it? As soon as this international break's over, fuck it, son.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy your rest, I think, Reds out there, because you're going to need every bit of energy, I reckon, when this break's over. But yeah, that's it. I said earlier, this is full tilt now. It's full tilt time. Today was our last opportunity to rest and rotate and give squad players any sort of minutes. You've already said it, Conroy, but yeah, this is it now. From here on out, starting with Watford after the break, we're going to be asking these players to go to the well time and time again in some big games. But having said all that, I actually think this Liverpool side under Klopp and Klopp himself are more suited to these hectic schedules. I actually think we're a better team for it. So it bodes really, really well for us.
And you have got that depth there, Dan. You've got the players who can come in, maybe not the same, but you feel more confident that like if
even seeing games out,
seeing
games out like that.
Yeah, a Curtis Jones coming and stuff like that. You feel like you can do it.
Yeah.
Conroy, we must touch upon the draw because obviously we're speaking about the FA Cup.
I was going to say that.
I was going to say we're speaking about the FA Cup and we're through to the semi-finals, and we couldn't have got good draw in the FA Cup as well as the Champions League, so we had to lose out on one. I guess it's the better one to lose out on, if you know what I mean. Man City next. Thoughts?
I'm always like you, Grizz. I think your tweet before the match was spot on. By the way, you went.
They usually are.
Yeah, no, but some people, People do jump the gun, Grizz, because we could have been 1-0 down with 20 minutes to go tonight, and this wouldn't have been this wouldn't be an event. So we need to do it one game at a time going forward. That should be the mantra. What I would say is, you want to win stuff, you need to beat the best. You want to be the best team, Lord, you need to be the best. This kind of idea of like getting easy routes all the time, you need to get it out. You're in a tournament. If you want to win, you need to beat the best. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to beat the second or the level opponent with yourselves. Anyway, I'll be honest, it sounds mad, right? Obviously, Crystal Palace would be the ideal one, right? But I actually didn't want to play Chelsea again because I feel like we're forgetting how many chances they missed in that game. And like we missed as well, but it was a close game, flip of a coin. Man City are ridiculous. I get that. I still feel that we can hurt Man City, and we know what the game is going to be like. With Chelsea, it's going to be cagey, it's going to be tight. I know there's chances, but I feel like we're playing each other a lot. And Tuchel can do damage, and so can Guardiola, but I can accept it. You need to beat the best. And you know what? At Wembley against Man City, the massive pitch with our attack, their attack, it's going to be an absolute cracker. But we can hurt them. We know we can hurt them. We had a terrible 45 minutes against them at the start of the season. And then before you know it, Mo Jinkson's side plays it to Mane. We're 1-0 up. And if not for a deflected De Bruyne strike, we'd probably go on and win that game, or Fabinho's chance as well. So I think I'm not upset about it. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be someday, and I think we can beat them.
Oh, I think we can beat them as well. I just think it's fascinating the way it's all set up now, Dan, because their fixture list around that period is Atletico Madrid, us, I believe, Atletico Madrid again,
and us again,
and then us again, in the FA Cup. So we are concentrating on ourselves, yet we would have one eye on the difficulty and especially the nature of the teams they're playing as well. Like Simeone ain't gonna turn up. Simeone is gonna pull out all the dark arts, the tricks, everything to just piss them off, right?
100%. Yeah, well, I certainly hope so. Because the harder their games are around the fixtures with us, the better.
Yeah,
100%. Like they've got Burnley on the Saturday. We play Watford, and it's at Burnley, and I just want Burnley to make it the most terrible afternoon.
Burnley game ever.
Because that's ideal. That's all we can ask. Sometimes when you see City get relatively straightforward draws, it isn't the fact they might necessarily lose the game or breeze through the game. It's the fact that they don't get challenged enough. It's so frustrating. They can go through games in like first, second gear. Whereas with this sort of upcoming fixture schedule, at least those Atletico Madrid games should push them to the maximum before they play us. So they can't be taking players off for 20 minutes to go with the game being done. We've just seen them walk past Sporting Lisbon 5-0 on aggregate. That would be no good to us. But with Atletico, there should at least be a contest there and it should be a scrap. So if they're a little bit tired coming into a fixture with us, that's brilliant news. But yeah, as you say, I actually quite like the fact we're playing them in semi-final. I'd have hated the final more. I think that would have been worse.
What if... Okay, so look,
you can't think about it too much, can you? You just need to just roll with the punches.
No, you have to. You have to. Look, I've said it before. Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool are the three best teams in Europe, and I'll hang my hat on it. I genuinely believe that, and it's proving the case because we're clear. We're possibly. Hold on. Can there be 3 out of the 4 teams in the semi-final English? Does it work like that?
Yeah. Well, Chelsea beat Real. City beat Atletico.
They beat each other, and then we're.
I think there's an absolute chance. There's 3 out of the 4 teams will be English in the semi-final, and I think that will probably prove my point. I do like to.
3 Spanish teams as well, though. Give Spain credit again. Villarreal, Atleti, and Real Madrid.
No, fair point. Amar says, Grizz, what do you think of United getting Ten Hag? Would really like to hear from you, mate. I think Ten Hag's a wonderful manager. I would hate it if he goes Man United. So that tells me what I think of Ten Hag at United. I hope you get Pochettino and you continue to rot. But I love you, Amar. Thank you for the support and thank you for the like that I know you've probably liked already. Yeah, look, it's wonderful, man. So much to look forward to. As Dan says, have a break, guys. Relax, watch a bit of international football that some may care about, but I don't think we care about. Maybe look out for the Senegal-Egypt. Just generally, Conroy, are you with Dan about the Senegal-Egypt? Who do you want to go through? Mo or Mane?
I get Dan's point, but I'll be honest, I think in a one-off game, Senegal are a better team. And they've just not took their chances against Egypt. I can see Senegal winning again because I think they will.
It's not one-off game, is it? Is it one-off game?
It's 2 legs, isn't it? 2 legs. But what I mean is, I feel like if you give them 2 games, I think they'll get the better of them because even in Egypt will hold the fort. They'll play low, they'll play deep, try to catch them in the break. But I just think Senegal have confidence now. Was it a?
It's. I just forgot about this.
Yeah. So it's Turkey, isn't it? Turkey.
It's Portugal versus Italy as well, wasn't it?
No, it's Portugal, Turkey, isn't it? And then Italy's the final. So it's like the 4. So it's like Italy against. We're assuming they go through. But I think Turkey are not as good. Everyone thought they'd be good, but they weren't very good.
Euros.
Yeah, but then Italy, I can't remember who Italy play. I've completely forgot. And then the route is for the final would be Portugal, Italy if they both win to get through.
The point being, we've got significant, important players that are still got something to play for in this international.
At least Thiago's not going. Thiago and Bobby aren't going, so that's good news.
But that's why I'm slightly surprised that Thiago just didn't get another run out today. Maybe, but I get it. Giving Harvey a go. Yeah, I get it. Is Naby off as well? Someone in the chat quickly let us know before we come off. If Naby's off, fingers crossed, because Naby, we know what happens when Naby goes off to international duty. I just pray that nothing happens to any of them. We have a fully fit squad to come back and attack, as Klopp would say, all the competitions that we're in. What a time to be alive, guys.
It's
what a time to be alive.
It's exciting.
It's
nerve-wracking.
Just embrace it.
We have to embrace it, Dan. There's nothing else we can do. It's true. This could be so heartbreaking. This could be so one of the greatest years of our lives, like in every single way. But yeah, it's just enthralling. Embrace it and try to enjoy it each game as it comes. I'm sorry I'm sounding like a football manager, but it really is. Just take each day as it comes, each game as it comes. Guys, obviously, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Conroy. We've gone way over time, but we had so much to
just
cover.
Before we finish up, just to say, obviously, I know you've probably mentioned at the start as well, but very close to the 10K as well now. It's been some journey, and I think, was it 300 off now? So we're nearly there. Just to say thanks to the chat and the community as always has been brilliant, but we're nearly there. If we can, just smash the like and subscribe if you've not.
Look, look, they'll have been subscribed because it's subscriber mode only in the chat. Because of the couple of the shitheads we get sometimes, a few haters from here and there. So I've made it subscriber only, but it's good because subscriber only means it's our community, and what a community! Wow, I mean, they correct us like we're not know-it-alls. We're just absolutely ordinary fans, just like they are, and it's brilliant. Some of the insight from the chat is amazing, and obviously, as you said, I can't thank them enough. 10K within 5 months is outrageous. I'm so humbled. Guinea didn't qualify. No, but doesn't he go off for the international? That's what I meant. Like, hasn't he got a
maybe friendlies then? Maybe
friendly. Yeah. I mean, Robertson, that was tactical.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like if that, I saw your tweet, but in general, I think we've got Poland is a fundraiser match next week, but because of what's happening, our first leg, I think, of the Nations League or the World Cup. I get mixed up. There's that many happening now. But the important
playoff,
match,
isn't it? Playoff.
The playoff has been rescheduled. So the important match is not anytime soon. So
was it Ukraine you were supposed to play?
Ukraine, mate. And so it's basically Wales play the other. I can't remember who
Austria.
It is. Austria, and then we play Ukraine at Hampden. But that's getting rescheduled, obviously. So we'll see how it goes. But I think if that was the case, Dan, I'm telling you right now, he loves Liverpool. But this could be like. This could be generational as well for Liverpool, but like if Scotland get into a World Cup, would be like
so he's definitely isn't he? So it's
But I don't think he'll be in. I think he might even just be in the squad. If he's ill, he won't obviously. But even if he isn't, I think he might even. They'll probably bring like another fullback in for the friendly. I don't think Ralston got called up, but I can't. I don't think we have to worry about Robbo. That is a relief.
Massive relief. Let's hope Trent, Robbo, anyone else who had a niggle, Mo comes back fully recovered. There's no way Mo is going to be held back from Senegal versus Egypt to make this country. Yeah, even Mr. Klopp is not powerful enough for that. But yeah, people are amazing. So we have an international break, Conray. So we know what that means. Much awaited, oh my God, the draft. So we have to let the people know, okay, we'll work it out which day we do it, which night.
Every day.
Every day. We'll probably, I tell you what, we'll schedule it in for next Sunday.
Yeah.
For the Redfellas. Oh, that is something to look forward to. People have been asking me so much.
Dan, you probably like what are we speaking about, but this draft, there's the amount of work it's went into, Evan's put into this draft, it's got so much, it's mind-boggling, and it's great. So.
It should be good. It should be a good heap of fun. Obviously, we haven't had a chance to do it because the games have been sort of on top of us and so many, but we'll do that for next Sunday. Let's pencil it in for next Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Redfellas. Don't forget to check out our sponsors before I go. Let me get the details up. Here we go. Sponsored by EliteMe.com. www.eliteme.com. Go and check them out. Use the discount code of LFC15. You'll get 15% off all your products. Some amazing products. As I said, I've used it, and in this title race, I'm telling you now, you will need some CBD oil because this is going to be one hell of an end to this season. This has been Redfellas. Love for you all. Over and out.